all say we want to shoot lower scores, right? That's the number one thing. You know, people come to see me and they'll say, hey, I want to shoot lower scores. And I'll say, all right, well, what part of your game will actually help you do that? 99, maybe 97% of the time people will say, oh, I got to work on my driver. I got to keep my driver in play. And I'll say, okay. And then they'll volunteer the information. They'll say, I'm a pretty good putter. I'll be like, all right, what does that mean? And they're like, oh yeah, usually, 2-3 putts per hole. I'm usually pretty good at that. And the first thing we'll have to talk about is that is not good putting. All right, 2 to 3 putts per hole. You're talking about anywhere from 36 up to, you could be at 45 putts per round. If you think about what a PGA Tour player is, I could make you the best ball striker in the world, okay? And you could work for years and years and years to become the best ball striker in the world. You would still be at least 10 shots behind what a PGA Tour player would do. If they have a really good putting round, they'd beat you by 15 or 16 shots, okay? That means you're never gonna be able to break past, that 82, 83 mark if you were a world-class ball striker. So we all know working on your putting is something we need to do. But then what I realized is I don't think people know what they need to do when they're working on their putting. So let's talk about it. So the first thing we have to realize is there's 3 things that we can work on with our putting. You can work on starting the ball on the correct line, okay? 2, you can work on your speed control. And then 3, you work on reading the greens. So when we go to practice, we need to be doing those things, all right? So how do we do those? Well, if we're gonna start the ball on line, there's the element of I need to hit the ball with my putter straight on line, but I also need to get aiming correct. That's one of the biggest mistakes that people make. So best tool that I like is this putting mirror. And I like this particular mirror from Eyeline because it has enough room where I can see my shoulders in the mirror. This mirror is also really good for indoor practice. They give you these little indoor tees. They just look like this, right? You can put these into the mirror and you can make some path guides, you can make some start gates for the ball. But very simply, all I want to do is I get the mirror lined up. This putt's breaking slightly to the right, so I have it lined up just about left center, maybe just inside the left edge. So I know that that's where I'm aiming, okay? Now when I set my putter up, I can get the putter set up on the lines. Then I can get my shoulders and my eyes set up correctly. That's a big part that people don't realize. I have my eyes in the mirror and I want them both level. I don't want to be looking off to one direction or the other because that's going to dictate where my stroke is going to go. So I get my eyes set up and then I've got my shoulders as well. I can see them at the bottom of the mirror. From there, it just becomes rolling the ball straight ahead. Okay? You'd be amazed at how much your stroke changes when you get set up correctly. And using the mirror is awesome because it lets you check it from day to day. I get up over this, I bring this to tournaments, I throw it out. If you went to a PGA Tour and LPGA event, this would be maybe the most common used aid that you would see across all players. Players are using different aids for different things. This is the one you would see the most players using because this one is so simple, it's easy to do, and it's easy to carry around, right? So that's why they do it. All right, guys, so then the next thing we got to be able to do is we have to be able to judge the speed of our putts, okay? So the biggest thing is when we go for speed, people don't think about speed so much on putts that are like 15, 10, 12, 20 feet. Right here, I've got about a 20-footer, and people are thinking, I need to make these putts. Well, statistically, if you look at it, you're not going to make many of these. It's just the way it is, okay? So my goal needs to be, I need to have good speed control on putts of this range. Now, we know that there's ways you can control how far you're going to hit a putt. You can control how far back and through you go, how fast you swing the putter. But I want you to think about something else too, because this is actually a bigger problem that I see. You can see I still have our putting mirror out here. The mirror is going to help us with aim. Aim is huge on these long putts because what ends up happening is people will aim pretty much at the hole, and most long putts are going to break. Even on this green, which doesn't have a ton of overall break, we will see the ball break slightly on most long putts. So that means you're going to have to aim somewhere other than the hole. Now, what do most people do? They aim at the hole, and then they try mid-stroke to maneuver the putter to send the ball on their start line. Problem with that is you're going to have too many moving parts. You're not going to be able to control how fast all of them move, okay? The other thing is the putter, it is so important to hit the putter in the center of the face, all right? The putter it has the highest smash factor, believe it or not. It gets up around 1.8, 1.9 when you're hitting putts. So that's higher than a driver. A driver is at 1.50 on a perfect strike that you smash, right? We need to make sure we're hitting the center of the face, otherwise that's going to have a big impact on how our speed comes off of the ball, right? So when I do this, I want to make sure my lines are correct. So I am aiming just left of the hole. I think this putt's going to break just a touch to the right, and I want to make sure everything is going at my spot, because when I do this, I know, hey, everything's going to be consistent. Trying to control all the variables that I can control that's the fastest way to get more consistent, which I know a lot of you want out there. Okay, so if I can get everything set up, then it just becomes a matter of feeling things out for how hard to hit this putt. Okay, not bad. About a foot by, maybe a foot and a half, but not bad. Okay. Now, I can actually then start looking at some things like, okay, maybe I got to do a little bit better read, something like that. But at least I know that there's not other variables that would be causing my speed to change or to fluctuate all the time, right? That way I can just work on, all right, how fast do I want to hit this putt? And I can keep adjusting as I go. So let's try to go a little smaller on this one, okay? You can see now my speed is getting better. And then again, you add your read, you're going to be able to see that ball probably go in a little bit more, even though technically you're not trying to make these putts as much. I just want to get set up really well, find my start line, and then try to judge that speed as best I can. So now we have to talk about, you have to be able to read greens, right? So most people are not very good at reading greens. I think it's always been something that we say, oh, you just look and you guess and you see what you get. Now, to some extent, that is a little bit true, but it is a skill that you can work on. Now, we've been seeing more and more green reading systems come out, such as Aim Point. The one I use is called Tour Read. You need to have some way to understand how the different elements of a putt will affect the break, okay? Those elements are going to be, how much slope does the putt have, okay? Now you're going to see a lot of people now say, hey, what's the percentage of slope? You can see I have a level here. I practice figuring out how much percentage of slope this putt is breaking. That's why you see people standing over their putts, reading them and using their feet. That's what they're trying to feel out. And then they practice that with either a level, or you can get some of the new cool tools that are out there like a slope grade ball marker. You can actually have those aids that will help you, okay? Now, big thing is, what do you do with it? Well, I need to put that together with, if I know how far my putt is, okay, if I know how it's uphill or downhill, and I also know the green speeds, those elements are going to affect how much this putt breaks, okay? So let's go through an example here. I have a putt here, okay? This putt is about 7 yards long, okay? And by the way, this is the Tour Read system. I'm not gonna give you the whole equation because it's not mine to give, but I would highly recommend you go check them out. I'll link it below. They have a free trial where you can get a lot of really good information. So go check that out as you go through this, okay? So I know it's 7 inches. I also know that I have about 1.5 degrees of slope, okay? When I did my read, I felt between 1 and 2. Thought it was more closer to 2. It actually ended up being right in the middle. So with that information, it's also a pretty flat putt, and the greens, you can see how wet they are pretty slow, okay? So if I take that information, I'm gonna go ahead and do my math. What I'm gonna come up with is, we need to have a putt that's gonna actually break about 15 inches or so, okay? that's going to be about that read. So what I would say is I need to aim out 15 inches, all right? So let's go ahead and let's give it a try. And this also is for a putt that is going to go about a foot by, all right? So I've got it, I'm aiming out 15 inches. You can see again, I got my body aiming out there, 15 inches. I got it out too far. Not bad on the speed, but I did not start it on my 15 inches. And so now I can actually go through and work on putts. Because I have my system, I would say, hey, the read actually didn't seem too bad, but I definitely shoved that putt out a little bit too far, okay? When I started rolling, you're looking at it like that's not really starting where I thought it would. So I can work on that and see if we can get it right. Here we go. That one was a little better. Not bad, not bad. And again, there's going to be some variance on greens because of how putts are rolling, how putts are breaking. Those things are going to matter a little bit because of footprints. You can see we have a lot of footprints. Those things are going on as well. But the big key is I have a system that's going to let me. Now, if you say, hey, I don't know how to get percentage of slope, all of those things, well, you can see I use either a little level that you can get pretty cheaply. Again, you have these slope grade ball markers, which have really cool things. Or when we play these tournaments, and these are now banned on the PGA Tour, but we still can use them, and we get these in our tournaments. And what you get is these are from Strakaline, okay? They actually do all the slopes for you, and they make these digitally. So you can actually get this made. If you play your home course a lot, you want to get your slopes, you can actually get all those. So when I'm actually playing a tournament, while everybody is putting, you know, I'm sitting here looking and I'm like, all right, here's my putts, like right here, I'm putting this way. I'm looking at the slopes and I'm saying, all right, I've got about a 2% slope across this whole putt, all right? Then I can do my math. By the time it's my turn to putt, I'm putting the ball down. I know I'm aiming exactly there, and away we go. That's what I would do with it as we go. So that's how people are reading these greens and getting better, okay? So that's something you can work on as you go through to practice your putting. So now the last thing we'll give you is a little bonus tip on getting better at putting. So at the end of the day, a good putter just goes out and makes putts. So you need to have a way to go out and putt, have a way to score yourself and be able to know if you're getting better, okay? So again, most people just come out here and hit putts to hit putts. That's all they're doing. And they just hit them thinking that's going to transfer. Now, they don't know if they're hitting good putts. They don't know if they're hitting bad putts. They don't have any consequence to anything that's going on. So that's where something like the stack system putting. Now again, I use stack system for speed. I think it's unbelievable and you should check it out. Putting comes with that. But if you don't want to get the speed system, the putting actually is now available on its own, okay? And so all this is going to do is if you go through a putting session, now there's a few modes you can do, but their main session is going to give you a bunch of putts. So right now it's telling me hit a 6-foot putt downhill and try to find a straight one, okay? So I'm going to do that. For me, downhill straight, 6 feet, gonna be right around here, okay? And you can walk them off. 2 steps, 2 yards, 6 feet. What I'm gonna do, go through my routine. I go through the read, even though I say it's straight, who knows, right? That feels pretty good. I go through the routine, doing my green reading. So 0% slope means I'm gonna hit it straight. Pushed it to the right. It actually moved a little right too. So what I can do is look at it and say, all right, hey, what happens when I miss that, right? So when I go through and I select that putt, when I say, hey, I missed it to the right and I hit it too fast, okay? It's gonna say, all right, what did you do on the next one? I've got about a 3-footer. Again, not a great putt, and I can say I made it. Now, what ends up happening is, it tells me, based on my putting performance there, I've lost 0.65 strokes gained. So, not good. If I keep on that path, I'm gonna be losing a lot of strokes as we go. So, what I like about this is it just lets you know, are you hitting quality putts or not? You know, we might say, oh, I missed a 6-footer. My make percentage was whatever, but we need to know how good those putts really are. Also, when you're hitting 20, 30 footers, how good are those putts? So something I would highly recommend you try checking out, okay? So if we're going to shoot lower scores, remember, I want to see you shoot lower scores, and this is a big area. So take these tips. This practice session, you can see, you can go through, you can do your mirror work, you can do a little bit of speed work, you can practice reading your greens, and then you can do a little competition. You can do that in 30 minutes, all right? You can do most of this at home. You can do most of this at home where you say, all right, hey, I'm going to get a putting mat, work on my setup, we'll work on my alignment, okay? I'm gonna get those parts dialed in. Then when I go to the course, I gotta work on, let's get some longer putts for speed, let's get some of the green reading, and let's just make some putts, okay? All of those things can be done. So make sure you get out there and practice your putting. If you're not doing something like this, you're leaving strokes out there. And again, if you are somebody that has 35, 40 putts per round, that is not good putting, especially if you're not hitting a lot of greens, okay? Because you're probably having shots and putts from closer than normal, okay? So keep that in mind as you go through this, all right? So get out there, break some scoring records as the season for us in the North finishes, and let's go ahead and let's have some fun with this game, all right?